at the rare beauty of this scene. Is that incredible or what? That's incredible. Yeah, wow, what a grand day today is. Look at this. Yeah, love snow days. Wow. Let's get a sweeping view. Go slow so you can see. Hear the hushed quiet of snow in the pines. The wind. Yeah, it makes a certain sound when there's snow on the pine trees. Yeah. This is fantastic. I really love getting out in the woods on days like today. You just walk out through there, you'll get that snow all over you. Yeah, days like today are good to be on a trail. If you're just plowing through the brush, like you just take off out through there. Yeah, you'll get covered up with snow real quick. You'll get wet real quick. It'll turn you miserable. Look at this tree. Got so much snow and ice hanging off of it. It's about to break. Oh yeah, this is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, doing any kind of work in this kind of environment is extremely difficult. Because it is just absolutely wet, icy, snow covered all at once. That makes anything you do 5 times harder. Yeah, this is difficult. Difficult terrain to live in right now. Just take a short walk. Enjoy the wind in the trees. Enjoy the snow. This beauty doesn't last for long. A few hours from now it's all going to start melting away. Wind is going to blow it all down out of the trees and it won't look as nice anymore. neat. Don't get to see anything like that very often. Yeah, some of you folks might not be able to come out and get out in the snow like this. I'm happy to just film snow-covered trees and walk around a little bit and kind of share it as a video. Wow. Snow falling from the trees already. Big clod of it just fell. Look at that. Ooh. Yeah, it's like getting pelted by snowballs. One of those runs down your neck. Well, you really know you got something. They will. They'll plop right down inside your shirt. I just kind of try to protect my neck with a hoodie on days like this so I don't get snow down my neck. Beautiful and secluded little spot right here. Not so much snow in. There's no snow on the leaves. Yeah, places become really reclusive and secluded when there's snow laying on the trees like this. You just feel remote and removed from everything. You feel really private. I kind of like that feeling. It just sets a really serene and calming mood. You're wandering around snow-covered trails like this, folks, you gotta be really careful, really observant. I tend to overdress. I tend to over-provision myself a little bit, just in case anything happens. Like if I should slip and break my leg or something. You know, you need extra clothing, and you need extra food and water. You know, a situation like that. Because here in this place, it could be a day or two before someone stumbled across me on this path. So if I slipped and fell and cracked my head open or broke my leg, I would really need the provisions and stuff that I brought with me. So I always kind of overdo it a little bit. It's way better than coming in short. Imagine 2 days of laying around in this kind of environment, in this weather, with inadequate clothing, inadequate food and water. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. So always kind of over prepare a little bit. And you know, if something bad does happen, then immediately you're better off. You know, you're in a better way. Yeah, on days like today, you can see that everything is just absolutely covered up with snow. And if you're out in the wilderness, when a snowstorm like this comes through, you got to tighten up your game exponentially. Because if you just take off through that brush over there, you'll be covered in snow in a matter of moments. And you'll get wet and you'll get cold. Yeah, so if you're traveling somewhere and you don't have a shelter set up for you to immediately go to and get dry clothes on and get warm, get dry, get food, whatever, you're really placing yourself into the dire straits. And so the best thing to do on a bad weather day like this, no matter how much your need is to remove yourself from the woods, it's probably better to hunker down and wait. You know, wait until that snow falls. Wait until the wind blows it off of the trees. You know, and 12 hours from now or tomorrow, you know, we'll spend all night and then part of the day tomorrow. All of this snow and everything will get knocked off of the trees by the wind. The sun will come out tomorrow and melt a lot of it off. And then it'll be a lot easier to travel just across country in this kind of environment. So your other option is to try and stick to trails, or you know, river edge or something like that, where you can moderately stay out of direct contact with a brush that has so much, you know, snow coverage on it. You know, you can kind of protect yourself that way. And I know a lot of times maybe you don't have time to wait like that. You know, especially if you don't have food, don't have water, don't have shelter, don't have adequate clothing. Maybe you're low on cigarettes. You know, there's always some reason why we can't wait. And so, but you know, if you don't wait and you just choose to bust off through the brush right there, yeah, you run a huge risk of hypothermia and getting frostbite. You know, so you take a big chance doing that. And if you know you're going to be stuck out here overnight, you know, it really doesn't make any logical sense to try and travel through, you know, this kind of snow-covered, just, you know, it doesn't make any sense to travel through this kind of snow-covered environment. Yeah, and placing yourself at risk of getting hypothermia or frostbite. So it's always your best bet to hunker down and wait. You know, build yourself a little shelter to hunker down in. You know, and burning wood. You know, if you have to chase wood, you go out into that brush right there to chop wood for a fire. Well, you know, that's another decision that, you know, could turn out to be a bad one. You know, because dead wood is not as easy to find in this kind of weather, and if you do find it, you still have to get to the wood, break it up somehow, chop it, smash it to pieces, break it with your, you know, break it off with your bare hands. You know, so that can lead to complications. You know, the same kind of complications. You get your hands wet and get them really cold. You know, you run the risk of getting frostbite from having direct contact with, you know, icy, snow-covered wood. You know, so there's a lot to consider there. You know, do I hunker down and stay overnight? And if I do hunker down and stay overnight, how am I going to be, you know, how am I going to stay warm? How am I going to provide fire for myself? You know, what am I going to eat and drink? You know, those are all, you know, really serious questions that you have to ask yourself. And if you're actually stuck out in the middle of an environment like this, I mean, in real time, where you can't just take a 10-minute walk back to your car or something like that, those decisions are crucial to your survival and to your well-being. You know, my fingers and my toes are really important to me, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to keep them after every outing that I go on. And you know, so I protect myself. And I try to make good decisions. This, you know, winter time here in a place like this, you have to really be on your toes, and you have to be able to make the right decisions. You know, because, you know, even a decision that costs you an hour or two of walking time can mean the difference of life and death. You know, when it comes to hypothermia and frostbite and things like that, because your body can only endure so much and for so long. You know, so those minutes that you decide to wait or don't wait, you know, really, really mean something. So that's why I'm making this video today, is to kind of, you know, discuss the importance of making the right decisions when you're stuck out in the wilderness on a day like today. You know, the snow has clung to the trees so much, and it's so heavy that I'm definitely deciding to hunker down here and just stay. Now, I have trails that I can walk on, so I'm going to walk on the trails as much as I can, but still, there's no chance of me getting out of here before nightfall. So whatever I choose to do, I'm going to walk on the trails for a while, but I'm not going to take off out into the woods and get myself wet. And where I do hunker down at, where I do decide to hunker down at, I'm going to hunker down at a big dead tree where I don't have to go anywhere to get the firewood. I'm going to build my camp literally right on top of the dead tree. And I'm going to process that dead tree and cut it up and use the firewood from it. And that way I'm not tromping off into the woods away from camp to chase firewood every couple hours. So that leads to another part of the discussion here is, making the appropriate decisions, It's like if you do hunker down, have wood close by, or be on top of the wood where you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to walk out into the brush. You try to find as dry of an area as you can, because when the snow starts to melt off, it's going to run across the ground and start creating ice dams, or ice seek. We call them an ice seek. And so you don't want that forming under your feet as you're trying to stay warm and dry. So the area that you set up has to have very handy firewood, and has to be on a hillock or a high spot where you're not in a lowland marsh area that's going to flood with the snow melt. So all these decisions are really, really crucially important, and you have to take a moment to consider all of that. So hopefully this video that I'm making today will help outline some of the most important questions and aspects of dealing with a situation like that, so that if you're ever faced with it, you'll have a good chance of hitting the streets running and making the right decisions from the very beginning, which is critically important. Yeah, the decision-making process is so important. And remember, I just said, even a few moments, if you cost yourself a few moments of time, it can mean the difference between life and death. And that's no joke. I mean that very seriously. Here comes the snow again. Here comes the snow again. Oh, wow. Yeah, see, it's just like a total fog almost with snow. The snow's come back, it's starting to snow again. So yeah, I believe my decision to hunker down here was the right decision. I think I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to hunker down right here and ride this storm out. Started out nice. It wasn't really snowing too bad. But then it got shifting back and forth from freezing rain to snow. And now, as you can see, it's caused the coating of all these trees. Now if I try to walk through that, I'm gonna get absolutely drenched. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna start by scraping the snow back in a spot large enough for me to kind of inhabit here. Yeah, and the good thing about that is if you scrape the snow back and get down to the soil, get under the leaves, scrape the leaves off, that soil temperature is warmer than the air temperature. So that can really help you. You can scrape the snow back, lay your tarp down on top of it, and sit down on top of it, and as soon as you do that, your body will start warming up the soil below you. And then, once that's warmed up, then you'll actually have a warm spot to sit. So there's a lot of things you can do to improve your situation in a winter weather storm like this. So you don't necessarily have to be in a big hurry to get yourself out of the woods. Just because it's snowing and you might be stuck out there all night. There's no reason to panic over that. You just stay calm. Think everything through, make all your logical decisions, and if you actually do decide to try and stay put, overnight, then you hunker down. You build your little shelter. You scrape the snow back. You don't ever try to build a shelter right directly on top of snow. You scrape that snow back and get down to the ground. Get down to the soil layer, and then set up your tent on top of it, or whatever it is you got. A lot of people like using hammocks. Yeah, I love snow days. So if you have a hammock, you set up your hammock, set up the cover on it, get all that going, and you'll be good. You'll be safe. They don't have to do is concentrate on staying warm, staying hydrated, staying fed. So that puts you on the road to a successful self-recovery from the woods, and if that's what you're planning on doing. So right now, the temperature is not too bad. It's about 34 degrees. Well, it keeps shitting, the temperature's oscillating between 30 and 34 degrees. And so right now it's cold enough for snow to fall. So it's wipe off the lens. There we go. So yeah, you just scrape back that snow and so literally you can dig a hole in the ground, dig a little cold well, and cover that over with a tarp, and you'll essentially have the same thing that an igloo does. Is you'll have a warm area with a spot for the cold air to go. You can get into something like that on a sub-zero freezing day, or a freezing day like today when it's 30 degrees outside, and you'll be able to stay warm without building a fire. So that's really, really intelligent. So if you're stuck out here in these woods and you didn't want to walk out through all of that to go find firewood, you can build a simple shelter type that has a cold well in it that removes your need for having to do that. So you can shelter overnight without having to build a fire. And I do that all the time, actually. It's one of my favorite methods, because I really don't like chasing firewood, especially on days like today. You know, I'd rather hunker down inside of something and just stay warm with my own body heat, you know, insulate and stay warm with my own body heat. That always does a really, really good job of getting me where I need to be. So wherever you decide to go on a day like today, just stay safe and stay warm, and make use of the tips that I've given you about how to build a whole fort that will insulate you and keep you warm without having to build a fire. So you don't always have to build a fire to keep warm. I mean, there's other methods that you can use. And dressing adequately is one of those things. Yeah, I like to overdress so I can take layers off. That way, if I need to hunker down in a hole somewhere and put all my layers on, I can do that, and I can stay warm without having to rely on building a fire.